Everyone, the Zenith here. So today we're going to be reading Vincent van Gogh from What the Artist Saw series, and he is a very famous artist. So let's see if you can recognize any of his art and also learn more about this man who has also had songs written about him and is probably one of the most famous artists in the world, and is also an artist that I really like as well. So let's find out more about this man. He saw the world in vibrant colors. His art is very, very unique and very recognizable. In 1853, a child called Vincent was born in the Dutch village of Zundert. So Dutch, it's the Netherlands, it's in Europe. His parents were Anna and Theodorus van Gogh, a pastor, so he worked in a church. Views from his childhood home stayed with Vincent his whole life. He remembered it because it was so beautiful. The church steeple reaching high for the sky, and the neighbors working in the fields, and families of magpies, the birds, nesting in tall trees. Vincent was the eldest of six children, and the Van Gogh family enjoyed singing songs, reciting poetry, and reading fairy tales. Sounds like a very artistic and like literature-loving family. Vincent's mother had a fondness for the natural world, so she loved being in nature and spending time outdoors with her family. And by day, Vincent walked the hills and looked at the flowers dotting the countryside. He played in the garden, built sandcastles with his siblings. Do you guys ever build sandcastles? Probably at the beach during summer. Do you ever go during winter, maybe? I actually went to the beach the other day at Discovery Bay for the Christmas market, but it was actually not that cold, and we played in the sand, me and my friends. In the evening, the family watched the beautiful, stunning sunset red behind the tall pine trees in the marsh. And when Vincent returned home, he saw starling birds resting on the church. So, what do you see when you go for a walk outdoors? Or even if you don't, you know, go on walks often, it can be like on your way to school, take a look around at the people, the sky, what is it like? Maybe even now, go look outside your window. Right now in the Zenith, there's like a chemtrail, like some clouds or some fumes left behind from a plane, I think. The sky's really blue today. And I think I can hear a motorcycle outside. It's quite loud, actually. So what do you see outside? Vincent's mother drew what she saw outdoors. Mommy was an artist too, filling her notebooks with sketches of flowers from her garden. Vincent also drew the things he saw as he walked through the woods, over the heath, around the village. He was encouraged by his governess. So a governess is like a lady who usually a lady who comes to teach at your home. Nowadays, I guess it's kind of similar to a tutor, but some people didn't go to school. Sometimes they just had someone come and teach them. So that was what a governess did. And the governess was also a daughter of an artist. Wow, a lot of artists around Vincent to inspire him, it seems. So, can you sketch the buildings near where you live? What shapes are they? Maybe you've seen some buildings that are funny shapes. There are a lot of famous buildings in Hong Kong that actually have very unique shapes. A new one is Henderson Building. Maybe one of your parents worked there. You can also Google it. It's a very interesting looking building, and you can try drawing that too. And on some special occasions, Vincent gave his parents a drawing as a present. Vincent's parents appreciated their son's drawings as thoughtful gifts. They encouraged Vincent's interest in art. Go do art. But no one imagined that he would actually become an artist. When Vincent was 11, though, oh, what's happening? Looks like he's hugging his younger brother. He was sent away to boarding school. So he went to school away, and you don't come home to sleep from boarding school. You sleep at school with everyone else. Vincent felt sad. He would miss the sandy streets and the muddy farms of home. He would miss the marsh and the birds he heard whistling in the cemetery behind his house. Most of all, though, he would miss his family, especially his little brother Theo, who was his best friend. What's the longest you guys have been away from family? I don't think I've ever been away from them for too long, usually for holidays. I live on my own now, but usually I still see my parents like every week or so. How did you feel, maybe also, when you weren't with your parents? It was a rainy autumn day when Vincent's father dropped him off at school in Zevenbergen. Oh, it's so different from like the sunny blue sky of his home. It's like all gloomy and dark and rainy. Vincent stood on the yellow school steps and waved as the yellow carriage bumped away. Bye, Dad. He looked up at the tall buildings and down at the muddy street. Vincent was actually only 20 miles from home, but he was very alone. After 2 years, Vincent moved to a new high school in a grand building that once had been a royal palace. Wow. One of Vincent's teachers was a painter called Cornelius C. Huntsmans. Vincent had art lessons with the rest of his classmates, but these were only a small portion of his life at school. Do you guys like to draw at school? Do you have like art lessons? Maybe you use paint, oil pastels, crayons. Maybe you draw at home. What was the last drawing you guys did? Maybe you could try drawing your classroom, your classmates. Vincent didn't just study art, though. He studied Dutch, German, French, English, 4 languages. Arithmetic, which is math, history, geography, botany, the study of plants, zoology, the study of animals, calligraphy, handwriting, and gymnastics. That's so cool. He received particularly good grades in languages, but he quit school halfway through his second year, never to return. What happened? When Vincent turned 16, he began training as a dealer at an art gallery. So an art dealer is someone who sells art and usually have to know art really well. And it was in the bustling city of The Hague. The gallery was an elegant building with ornate curtains with lots of beautiful details. Maybe it's embroidered, maybe it's got like gold thread. Its walls were crowded with gold framed prints and paintings that hung all the way to the ceiling. And Vincent was keen and he was eager to learn his new trade. He did so well that he was soon making more money than his father. Vincent could not get enough of art. He loved it. Even in his free time, he spent hours looking at it. On his days off, he visited museums in Amsterdam and saw the great works of art by the Dutch masters Rembrandt van Rijn, Johannes Vermeer, and Frans Hals. When Theo came to visit, his younger brother, Vincent showed him the art he adored, and the brothers made a promise to always keep in touch through letters. After Vincent finished his training, he was sent to London. Wow, he's going places to learn more about the art business. He bought a top hat and fancy gloves to celebrate. The energy and the sights of the city dazzled him. Sounds like Vincent's grown up a lot, doesn't it? Like from when he first moved out to now. And he's doing something he loves. He's doing something he's passionate about. And because of that, he's happy and he's learning a lot and seeing a lot of the world. I'm so happy for him. Everywhere Vincent looked in London, there were interesting things to see. Tidy flower beds, people on horseback. If you guys go to London, some police still ride horses. Very cool. And children playing in the park. In his spare time, Vincent loved visiting art museums and galleries. At night, he read poetry, literature, and books about artists. He wrote to Theo and told him all about the things he saw. Now, it's your turn. Can you guys tell it's a lot of art and a lot of chances to draw? So if you like drawing, these are such good books for you guys. Now imagine a busy city. You guys live in one? We all live in one, Hong Kong. But you can think of a busy city scene. What are the people doing? What kind of shops are there? Maybe what are things you see on the street? Maybe is there a cat? Is there a shop selling flowers? Are there parents bringing kids, maybe you guys, to school? However, after a year or two, Vincent fell out of love with London. His mood grew gloomy and his work suffered. He wasn't happy anymore in London. Vincent's family noticed his letters were no longer as happy and excited as they had once been. Vincent was then transferred to work in a Paris gallery to make a fresh start. Glad he got to move to a different place. In Paris, Vincent visited museums and the Louvre Museum. Oh, this is a very famous one, the one that looks like a triangle. Let's see if there's a picture of it later. But even all this new artistry, he still wasn't happy. What's wrong? Vincent grew grouchy. He was a grumpy man and began to act oddly. He left his workplace without permission, without saying anything, or maybe without being told that it was okay to leave. He even argued with customers. It's bad enough this lady's covering the boy's ears. Finally, his employers told him, "You have to leave. You're not listening. You're not doing what needs to be done." Enough was enough. Searching for a new calling, Vincent decided he would become a pastor, like his father. He returned to England, where he took jobs as a teacher. One school allowed him to live there for free while he studied to become a pastor, and Vincent began preaching sermons in the local church. He told Theo he felt happy when he was preaching. Vincent sent letters to Theo with sketches of the view from his window, his school, a lamppost, and the curving driveway where students said goodbye to his parents. Is there anything else you guys can see outside the window? It's quite a lot of things, actually, that he hasn't mentioned yet. Vincent soon grew homesick. His uncle, a minister, agreed to help him prepare for a special exam. If he passed the exam, he could become a pastor. Vincent moved to Amsterdam to begin studying to be a pastor. Oh, so he had to do more studying. He wasn't done yet. However, he spent more time exploring the city and surrounding countryside. Maybe that made him feel better. His uncle advised Vincent, maybe instead of becoming a pastor, you could try something else. So Vincent became a missionary in the cool fields of Belgium. So missionaries are people who travel and they spread ideas about God and religion. And so that's what he decided to do. They also help people. That's also what missionaries do. And they oftentimes, again, travel to different countries even. The struggles of mine workers he saw there moved him deeply. He felt very strongly for them and showed sympathy. He gave up most of his belongings and lived in a hut with a small straw mattress. He made sketches of bleak landscapes and soot-covered miners carrying heavy bags of coal. So Vincent was like, oh, I don't want to have more things than them. I want to, live like them, see how they feel, be together with them and be empathetic. He made sketches and drew what he saw. But at that time, he still didn't see himself as an artist yet. Watch the people on their way to work, or watch not even these ones, maybe the ones on the street, maybe people coming home from work, and try drawing them. Do you guys think you're artists? I think everyone is an artist. And to become a good artist, you can practice as well. After only 6 months, Vincent was fired from his job. The church did not approve of his disheveled appearance and odd behaviors. Oh, what they thought he did was weird and strange. They're like, you're not neat enough. It's sad to hear that he was judged on that. Sad and dispirited, Vincent was not sure what to do next. In his letters to Theo, Vincent asked his brother for support and advice. Theo sent money to help Vincent pay for food and lodgings where he could live, but that wasn't all. He also sent drawing materials and suggested that his brother should become a professional artist. Sounds like Theo and Vincent are really, really close. I hope you guys are as close with your siblings too. At first, Vincent wasn't so sure. Until now, he'd drawn purely for pleasure, because he liked it. Would people really pay money for his pictures? Vincent felt encouraged by his brother's support and sent drawings for feedback. Theo now had a good job as an art dealer himself. He was inspired by his older brother. Vincent hoped that the brothers could work together, and maybe Theo could even help Vincent sell his work. Vincent wrote back, I'll pick up my pencil, and I'll get back to drawing. Eager to develop his art skills, Vincent moved to Brussels in 1880. It's quite some time ago, you guys realize. Over 100 years ago. 140 years ago. Almost 150. There, he copied prints by famous artists, practiced perspective drawing, so when you move in different places, things look different, and enrolled in classes to draw live models. So some people, they'll be actual living models for you to draw, to practice. He met other artists, read every human anatomy book he could find, because if you want to draw people, you need to make sure people look like real humans, and you actually have to know like how people's bodies move as well. It's so interesting. Vincent was only in Brussels for 6 months, but he continued to practice and develop these skills for many years to come. Practice, practice, practice. Look closely at your hand. How many different kinds of positions can you draw it in? When he ran out of money, Vincent moved to stay with his parents in the Dutch countryside in Etten. He made lots of drawings of people working in the fields, and in his artworks, Vincent tried to show the dignity of these hard-working diggers, sowers, and planters. During this time, Vincent experimented with many different materials: pencil, charcoal, chalk, pen and ink, and watercolor. City life again beckoned to Vincent. Come, come, come. This time he was off to The Hague again. So back when he first got his job, he was also at The Hague, and he took lessons from his cousin, the artist Anton Moore. Using carefully chosen pigments, chalk and ink, Vincent drew city views and made endless figure drawings. He worked tirelessly, practicing in the studio nearly every day. Up until now, Vincent had concentrated on drawing. It was Morph who taught Vincent how to be a painter. He also taught him about lights and shadows, and because Morph painted in tones of grey, green, and blue, Vincent did too, using watercolor and oil paints to capture what he saw. Sadly, though, the cousins' arrangements didn't really last because they had lots of arguments about art, money, about life. Guess they had very different viewpoints. The two parted ways. So, experiment by painting with a restricted palette of colors. So maybe what's something that's usually not gray, green? Maybe you could try drawing a rose with only gray, green, and blue. Maybe you could try drawing a sunset with only gray, green, and blue. Be creative. Who said you can't do that? Now, not long after this, Vincent received his first commission. Someone paid him money to draw something. 12 cityscapes from his uncle Cole, an art dealer. Vincent also sent more drawings to his brother Theo, and with Theo's encouragement and support, Theo's still continuing to encourage him. And it's really important, I think, to have people who love you encourage you in your life. They don't have to be family, they can be friends as well. They can be, anyone around you can be inspiring and can encourage you to do something. Vincent continued to develop his artistic skills. The cityscapes did not lead to any further paid work, though. Vincent found himself drawn back to nature. He traveled to the Dutch province Drenthe to paint the heathland and the women working on the peat moors. When he ran out of money, he slept outside and traded drawings for food. Seems like I think Vincent's also someone who doesn't need to clearly live in luxury. He's someone who prefers being in nature and doing what he loves. I think that's something he prioritizes from all the things he's done so far. And eventually, this lonely life was too much even for Vincent. After 3 months in the rain and cold, Vincent once again went to live with his parents, now in a village called NYUE. But he still, of course, did not give up his true love of drawing and painting. In NYUE, Vincent worked even harder. In preparation for a single painting, he made dozens of practice versions. So 1 dozen is 12. He made dozens. He missed meals and sleep because he was spending so much time on his art. So I think the idea is if you practice one thing a lot, you always get better at it, right? So he's trying to make sure he's going to be the best he can possibly be. Vincent sent his portrait studies to Theo, hoping that he might be able to sell them in Paris. Unfortunately, Theo knew Vincent's dark tones were not colorful enough to attract the attention of buyers, so it wasn't what was popular. But Vincent persisted, enrolling at the Academy of Art in Antwerp. He was enchanted with the models, materials, and museums, but he found the classes a little too traditional. Vincent knew he was different from the other students, and he longed to try something fresh and new. In 1886, this page is so colorful. Vincent joined Theo in Paris. There he met artists known as the Impressionists and the Post-Impressionists. They were using bold colors and brushstrokes to capture a scene. It was a whole new way of painting. Vincent took inspiration from the artists Theo introduced him to, including Edgar Degas, Camille Pissarro, and Claude Monet, who is also a famous artist you guys may have heard of. He also made friends with Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, and Émile Bernard. He began painting with a lighter, brighter color palette, and experimenting with different methods. And this is also the style you guys can see on this page, in particular, these dots and these lines. Vincent and Theo collected hundreds of Japanese woodblock prints, which Vincent copied. He also focused on portrait painting, so it's like he's copying and learning a lot of new things now. When he couldn't afford a model, he just painted himself. And while in Paris, Vincent made more than 20 self-portraits. Once again, Vincent hoped to sell his paintings. He even organized exhibitions. But once again, people weren't interested in buying them. Which is so interesting since he's one of the most famous artists in the world nowadays. Now, using a mirror, look closely at your reflection and try and draw yourself as detailed or as accurately as you can. Vincent didn't enjoy the winters in Paris. They were dark and cold. He longed to paint outside in the bright sun. He moved to Arles in the south of France and hoped other artists would join him there. Only one artist was persuaded, though. Paul Gogh moved into the yellow house that was Vincent's home and studio. And in Arles, Vincent painted everything he saw around him. Oh, these are very famous paintings. You guys, we can look them up, or you can look them up if you look up Vincent van Gogh art. These will come up for sure. He painted the dazzling countryside, the yellow house, his bedroom. He painted ordinary objects, such as shoes and the red tiled floor of his house. But what was very specific and unique to Vincent was his way of painting. He painted in cafes, in the street, in the park, on the riverbanks, in the fields, in the middle of the night. So he was capturing all these scenes. He carefully considered everything he saw before he put his brush to his canvas and began painting. You can also try painting your own shoes. His colors were now more vivid and his brushstrokes were confident. He sometimes applied paint so thickly that it took weeks to dry. Vincent made hundreds of paintings. He liked to finish a painting in one go and then move on to the next one. Vincent wanted to be known as the painter of sunflowers. Something about their bold, unfussy forms really attracted him. And before Gogh's arrival, Vincent decorated his friend's room with paintings, including paintings and pictures of sunflowers. Gogh and Vincent painted side by side, indoors and outdoors, and they learned from each other. He made a portrait of Vincent, painting his favorite flowers, and Vincent painted pictures of their chairs. What do you see when you look at a sunflower? But after a few weeks, the two began to bicker. They had very different views on art, and Gogh believed in painting from his imagination, while Vincent preferred painting what he saw. Following one particular row, which is an argument, Gogh announced he was leaving. Vincent became so distressed that he cut off a piece of his ear. Vincent was taken to hospital, where Theo rushed to visit him. It's sad that they don't agree and that's why they fought. I think sometimes we can agree to disagree. Your views don't hurt anyone. It's okay to have a different view. Upon his return to the yellow house, Vincent kept painting. He created several still life pictures and 2 self-portraits with his freshly bandaged ear. He painted the people he saw, such as his doctor, and also continued to work on a series of portraits of his local postmaster, so the man who works at the post office, Joseph Rowland, and his wife, Augustine Rowland. But soon, Vincent's neighbors grew wary of his unsettled behavior and asked him to leave. They thought he was a little strange. Throughout his life, Vincent experienced many symptoms of physical and mental illness. So there were a lot of things bothering Vincent. He was also sick. To help him get better, he volunteered to enter a hospital. He was given a spare room to use as a studio so he could keep painting. And he painted what he saw. The hallways, the iris flowers in the gardens, cypress trees, and even fellow patients. During his year-long stay, he made more than 150 paintings, including one of his most famous, this one here, Starry Night. One day, Vincent received a special announcement. He had a new nephew, and the nephew was named after him, Vincent. He made a painting called Almond Blossom to celebrate the new arrival. While Vincent was in the hospital, 6 of his paintings were shown in Brussels, and one of them was sold. At last, people were starting to take notice of Vincent's art and his unique style. After leaving hospital, Vincent moved closer to live to Theo, who was in Paris. He moved to an artist's village, Auvers-sur-Oise, under the care of Dr. Paul Gatchett. There, he painted day and night and completed 70 paintings in 70 days. Wow. Try painting night and daytime scenes. What differences do you see? Maybe there are some differences in colors as well. Vincent was spending more and more time in the fields. At first, it seemed to be doing good for him. But soon, Vincent's health suffered once more, and he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest, aged 37. He took his final breath in the arms of his brother Theo. So, unfortunately, Vincent was shot, and people believe that he shot himself. Though some people have also raised conspiracy theories, or ideas that maybe he was shot by someone else by accident. But Vincent didn't want that person to get into trouble. So, yeah. But Vincent did tell his brother that he did it to himself. Vincent was dead, but his art was not. His paintings remain, blazing with color and life, and all that effort and those memories and everything that Vincent saw from his eyes. Shortly after Vincent's death, Theo held a memorial exhibition of his work. Sadly, not long after the show, Theo also passed away. His widow Jo was left with hundreds of Vincent's paintings and letters. She was advised to get rid of them all, but Jo was determined to keep the work of both Theo and Vincent alive. Jo set down the family history and arranged many exhibitions of Vincent's work. The art of world was changing, and people were seeing things with fresh eyes. Vincent's paintings sparked interest across Europe, and people talked excitedly about his work. Jo also published a book of the brothers' letters. More people wanted to buy Vincent's work and read about his life, and others began to borrow ideas from Vincent's style. Looking at his work, so here are some examples. What do you like about his work? Following Jo's death, the care of the Van Gogh collection passed on to her son, his nephew, and his namesake. He felt strongly that Vincent's groundbreaking work should be a view for everyone to see, for all time, so he helped create the Van Gogh Art Museum in Amsterdam that opened in 1973. In his brief lifetime, Vincent made nearly 900 paintings and 1,100 works on paper. You can tell he practiced and he did a lot and he loved what he did. When he was living, these works went mostly unappreciated. But today, the world sees Vincent van Gogh as one of the greatest and most original artists of all time. The years he spent studying, practicing, and developing as an artist is recognized and admired. He's considered a genius, a trailblazer, and a pioneer of modern art. And here is a quote by Vincent van Gogh in 1883. When my life is over, all I hope is that I shall depart it looking back with love and wistfulness and thinking, oh, the paintings I might have made. And yes, he clearly made a lot of paintings for, how short his life was. And I think a lot of people nowadays really love Vincent van Gogh's art because you get to see how he saw the world in such a unique way. And so, hope you guys are also interested in Vincent's work. These are these are some of the ones that he has done. And here are some more. You can definitely see there's a lot of dots, there's all little strokes. The clouds are very wavy, and this kind of style is very recognizable as Vincent's work. When it comes to his skin, you can see there's orange on his skin, not just on his hair, but there's green on his face too. So he had many different styles, and he did lots of different things as well in his progress and in his learning experience also. Even though he was already an artist, he got to explore and try different things. And you guys should too if you guys are interested in art and just, do it for fun. Well, I hope you guys are inspired by Vincent van Gogh's story. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!